Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another boxing to break down of the demo. This is Final Fantasy VII, the greatest hits version for the PlayStation 1, but this is being played on my Pi station for HD recording quality. Now, Final Fantasy VII is a game I do have massive nostalgia and love and fond memories of playing back when I was a kid, and as well as it had a big impact for me as a gamer as well as my childhood. Now, Final Fantasy VII was a game that had a massive impact in the gaming industry in multiple areas and multiple fields that a lot of people just don't really know, especially nowadays. Is that Final Fantasy VII, of course, was the first Final Fantasy game in the main series to get released on a different platform other than Nintendo's Super Nintendo. As well as that Final Fantasy VII was the first real 3D perspective kind of design for a RPG, as well as many other RPGs that we've gotten used to playing back on the sprite graphics, as well as the turn-based combats and so forth. While Final Fantasy VII introduced a lot more dynamic, a lot more functions with the materia system, with more intricate battle system, as well as with the 3D effects and so forth, as well as this dynamic world design it had, as well as side quest characters and all the other forms, as well as incredible music that add to it. Now, why Final Fantasy VII was a big deal back in the day was that Final Fantasy VII really pushed the Japanese RPGs in the West greatly, and then probably even more in other countries as well. Now, we did have Final Fantasy and other RPGs, Japanese RPGs anyway, here in the US, but there was still a lot of them that we did not get. And even to this day, there's still more we don't get. But Final Fantasy VII really pushed a wave to what more people have more interest into other form of games other than just Mega Man, Mario, and so forth. It was a big influence to gaming, as well as world building and world design, with how much content it had packed into it, as well as what it offered. Now, nowadays, yes, we can look at it and it seems very bare and just very, not graphically gorgeous as some people would like to expect it, but even to me, I think the game holds up, even pretty par with even some games these days. Then again, I'm not a stickler for graphics, and I do love some of the simplistic designs in games. And what I really loved about Final Fantasy VII was the fact that when you did the open world running around and doing characters and stuff, that the characters look like little chibi characters, but when you get into a battle, you have full-size characters. I personally always loved this touch. Now, this was not a console limitation. If you've played Final Fantasy VIII and IX, you can see that they could easily achieve full-scale characters. It was just a design choice to make them look chibi or smaller in the world run around, but bigger in battle. I personally thought it was well done, and I would love to see it come back into some form in game design. But also with just the fact that the materia system introduced a form of combinations where you can have fire and all spell, as well as HP buffer upgrade, and HP max upgrade, MP, and so forth. It added so much and did so much that it just blew a lot of old gamers such as myself and just other gamers as well. And it's still really done, as well as the story just keeps you on the edge all the way through. It was just amazingly well done, as well as the music just grips you so well. It almost fits too perfectly for all the scenarios in the game, as well as Final Fantasy VII is one of the first soundtrack games I bought with getting the original soundtrack all on disc. I still have that copy on my shelf. But coming back to this, I came to it due to the fact of the recent more announcements of the new reimagine they're going to be making of Final Fantasy VII. Now, of course, there is some interesting concepts going on and everything like that, but I will still, no matter how many newer versions and stuff like that we may get, or retellings of the story and so forth, Final Fantasy VII, the original, will always be near and dear to my heart. It was just one of those games that I could not put down when I was a kid. I've put so many hours in this game. Now, for many people, Final Fantasy VII is their top most favorite Final Fantasy game. And we all have our own particular love for Final Fantasy games, but my most favorite was always Final Fantasy Tactics. But Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX are probably my next most favorite Final Fantasy games. For the fact that a lot of people want to say that I'm kind of hypocritical because I don't like open world games, but I like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, and so forth, and they are open worlds. But the thing is that I do not hate open world games, I just like smaller worlds where it's more compact and more easy to get around without flying or running and driving to at long distances. That's why I really have fond memories of the original Final Fantasies than the newer Final Fantasies that are coming out, even 10 and so forth. The worlds got too big and I just never cared to run around in this game. I personally have never beaten Final Fantasy X because I've gotten bored with its world. But with come with like 7 and 9 and 8, it's got a nice compact world where it doesn't take so long. And yes, I know that's due to the fact that they limit space on discs and so forth, and console limitations. Everyone wants to throw those things around, but I particularly like that design, and that's why those games are very fond with me. That's why I'm interested to see what they will do with the Reimagine. Will they make the world bigger, which that would be a downside for me, with the combat system we're going to be introducing, with more of a hack and slash or maybe Kingdom Hearts gameplay. But for me, nothing is better than the tried and true turn-based or active turn-based gameplay. It's not because I think it's more strategic. It's not because I think that it's better or has more love or heart put into it. I personally just like the slower pace of it. I like moving at my own speed. I like being able to customize the speed of the active time bar and just acting how I want to move, than having to constantly be on my feet and jumping around, hacking, and so forth. But regardless of what we'll get later in the series, I will always love the original one, and I just had to stop and talk about it since the announcement of that. But if you want a recommendation, there's no higher recommendation than buying Final Fantasy VII or any of the original Final Fantasy games. Even Final Fantasy VI is a masterpiece in itself as well. And I do have a very, very interesting story to share with you guys one day of Final Fantasy VII. And you're not going to believe this story. But, I will probably make it in a different video. Maybe I will share it as a, let's talk story time or whatever within Game Arts. I probably will leave a link in the description when I ever make that video. But, I just come back to it and hearing the music, hearing the combat, reading the characters and seeing them again never gets old. It's one of those games that no matter how far we get in gaming and technology and gameplay mechanics and so forth, the original will always be the king of the RPGs in terms of, on the PS1 and what it pushed and what it achieved and what it brought us as gamers. It's one of the most favorite games. I know that I keep saying that, and I'm sure a lot of people is probably tired of hearing all the praise of Final Fantasy VII, but for a lot of us, it was a big push in an interesting direction for game development and just well as story writing. It's just, there's nothing more I could say about this game than what you already know, and I can't appraise it enough or recommend it enough. I can't tell you what... There's nothing I can say that no one else has already said about the game. I just wanted to cover it on my channel, as well as that someday I'll share that story with you guys, even though I'm really hesitant to share it, because I do not think you're going to believe me at all. But, I will try to leave links down in the description if there's a copy. Of course, yes, I recommend it highly to pick it up. If you get it, if you have a PS1 or a PS1 collection, it needs to be in your collection highly. So thank you all for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me, and I'll see you guys on the next unboxing videos. Bye bye.